Well, good morning all. I'm videoing today from Mossvale Park in South Gippsland, one of my favourite little locations that I go to fairly often. And for those who have been watching my YouTube channel and reading my blog, you'll find that I'm not entirely satisfied with the audio input from the 3.5mm jack on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera. And so I've made some kludges that seem to work pretty well, but I'm not entirely happy with all of that. And recently I came across another little device that seems to have vastly improved quality of the audio levels in the camera, so I plan to do a test today, finding out exactly how good it is and how well it performs in a more realistic situation rather than the hallway in our house. So what I'm going to do today is recite a little verse, Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and start at 50 metres away from the camera, and taking 2-metre intervals, I'll repeat that little verse and we'll see exactly how well that performs from that distance back to where I am now. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. So that sort of concludes this little test. I'll take it back home, put it through the computer and see exactly how it turns out. I think it'll be pretty surprising, but hopefully it works reasonably well, at least halfway to the 50-metre mark, or maybe a third. Well, I have to say that test was very interesting indeed. It wasn't quite what I expected, but I think it revealed some quite interesting outcomes, and so I've decided to do a further test in a more controlled environment, to say the least. Some of the things that came about with the Mossvale Park test was that I had no idea that the microphone would be picking up all the ambient sounds, the crickets and the birds chirping. In fact, while I was videoing that, I didn't even recognise that those sounds were about. The trucks most certainly I heard, but nowhere near the volume level that was picked up by the camera or the microphones itself. So what I decided to do is I was going to go outdoors and find a more quiet environment, but then felt that that probably wasn't appropriate for what some people use their cameras for, shooting indoors, auditoriums and things like that. So I thought I'd actually do a repeat of the indoors test that I did in their hallway, but this time I'll place the camera in our entrance, and I'll be going off to my left, down the hallway to the far end of the house, which is about 14 metres. And I'll repeat that little verse, Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and do the 2 paces until I reach back at this point to see exactly how well the microphones pick it up down this thing. There's a bit of a dogleg in the hallway as well, so I think it's more of a challenge for the microphone than it was previously with just a straight line view down the hallway. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll report back on the results. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Okay, so that's a rather simple test, and what I'll just do now is put it back through the computer, see how it comes out, and add it to the start of the video that I did earlier at Mossvale Park, and then sort of draw some conclusions towards the end of that. Okay, that concludes the audio tests of my El Cheapo audio recorder, and I think, as you can see or hear, the final test inside the hallway of the back room worked out quite well. You can hear my voice at the very beginning, and it just improves as I get closer, obviously. I did a little test with Fairlight by just enhancing the very beginning a little bit, and it makes an amazing difference that you can actually enhance the voice or the loudness, and there's very little distortion or sort of change. It's quite clear and usable if you really needed to do that. So I'm actually quite impressed with this small audio recorder. And as you note from the outside audio recording, it really does pick things up from all over the place. So it's actually quite a versatile little tool for those who work in varied environments. Now, how well it will work long term as far as durability and that goes, who knows. $27 is not much to pay for an audio recorder, but to date it seems to be quite well. I haven't had any glitches with it or anything like that. So if you're interested in getting better performance out of your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, and you use either powered or unpowered microphones, and you use the 3.5mm input, then give this thing a shot. I don't think you'll be disappointed, certainly not by its performance. Over time it might be durability issues, but that's a minor price to pay, but works even for a year or two, which I suspect if you don't bash it about too much, it should do that quite well. So pretty much that concludes my audio tests on this device, and I look forward to hearing any comments about what you think. Cheers.